Hi, Scott here from Outlaw Garage. Today we're over with James. So first up, we've got a converted 924 turbo into a track car with some special elements to it. And then we've got a 996 GT3 Cup Car. So let's crack on and take a look at these. So as we said, we're here with James today. We're taking a look at a collection of track cars I think we're covering today. That's fair to say. And you may have just taken a sneaky look, quick glance over there at a GT3 Cup Car and 996. But we will tease you first with a 924. So we're going to get straight into it with this car. We're going to go straight to the front engine with the transaxle monster, and this hasn't got in it what we think we've got in it.
No, it's a 4-litre Lexus V8, so a 1UZ V8, pretty much standard, but way too much power for this car. That's needed.
Look at that. Kindly sponsored by Porsche.
Yeah.
And this kicks out how much horsepower now?
Just under 300. So yeah, still way too much for the car, but it's a standard engine, can't go any less. The good thing is it's been put together correctly by whoever built it. I don't know who built the car. Apparently it was built in Queensland about 15 years ago, so certainly stood the test of time and still runs today.
Yeah, and this doesn't have a compliance plate or anything like that.
No,
it's purely track only.
Purely a track car.
Which we'll see a little bit more when we hop into the inside of the car.
Yeah, purely a track car.
This doesn't have the extra, compliance for road or anything like that, because this is purely a track car, and we'll take a look inside in a moment. So that's the oil overflow.
Yeah, oil overflow catch tank.
Then we've got here is a well-made home addition to the coolant overflow.
Yeah.
Which is pretty cool. And then the Willwood brake system.
Yeah, it's a Willwood pedal box that you can see from the inside, but proper racing equipment and certainly well engineered.
Yeah, it's good gear.
It also has 4 piston calipers from a Volvo.
Yeah.
So they bolt directly onto the 924 turbo hubs.
Yeah.
So all the running gear on this is 924 turbo. So subframes, hubs, everything. Basically, it's a 924 turbo with a V8 in it.
Okay.
So
and then those Volvo components kind of just bolt on, and they're
bolt on, yeah, they're a popular upgrade for guys with Volkswagens or Porsche 924s.
Well, I didn't know that.
Yeah, bolt on.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Rears are standard 924 turbo brakes and 924 turbo gearbox. So
okay.
Which are the good ones.
Yeah, because I'd imagine that's a pretty solid gearbox.
Yeah, it's similar to a 915 gearbox. So it's a what's called a snail shell gearbox.
Yeah.
Yeah, very strong and reliable. So they're good. A lot of parts interchange with the 915.
Yeah. Okay, so we're at the rear of the car. Fuel cell is in the back there. You fitted the roll cage as well, or upgraded the roll cage?
Yeah, I put a new roll cage in it. Well, a new second-hand one. That's from a 944 a 944 Cup Car.
Okay.
So they run in the Victorian series here. There's a new ECU as well from Megasquirt in New Zealand, which they told me was plug and play, and it was, so that's a good thing.
That's very good.
Just a complete plug and play ECU, so that was brilliant. And then I put a spare Cup Car seat that I had, and there's a few other Cup Car race bits in there. The steering wheel connector, the seat rails. Yeah, battery was located in the rear, which was good. But yeah, just a basic.
It's brilliant.
Track car.
So there's the ECU located at the front. The switches and dials just over there. And then, if the sun doesn't blind us, what we can see is that it's actually participated in a fair bit in Warwick in Queensland at some point. And there's some stickers on the outside as well. So bless her, she's got a little bit of pedigree and she's had some fun in her time. We're just talking about the hood because it looked a little bit bulbous on the top, as you can see there. But it looks like somebody at some point has just cut it out just to give a little bit more headroom for the Lexus. Yeah, what a fun track car. Yeah,
just a basic track car that end of the day is quite cheap. Cheap to run, cheap to fix. A lot cheaper than a cup car, I can tell you.
And talking about cup cars, we won't keep people hanging on for too long, but here we have the 996 GT3 Cup Car. Okay, so now we've sneaked in on the 996. Bit of history with the cars?
Yeah, I back in the 90s I worked in a Porsche race team. So we started in Porsche Cup, then progressed on into Nations Cup, which was road going 996 GT3s, and then ended up in Carrera Cup with these cars. Not this exact one, but we were working on these, and a lot of my mates as well have been working on these. They're qualified Porsche mechanics and motorsport mechanics. So yeah, I've got a bit of history with the cars. So I've always loved them. This is my third 996 Cup car. But yeah, I just love bringing them back to as they were when they were brand new. So this is the Peter Fitzgerald 2003 Cup car, 996. It was raced by Peter for 3 years, so 03, 04, 05. Then, as typical race car life, gets sold to private drivers that go on and race them, just as a hobby. And then slowly they end up in someone's shed and nobody looks after it, and they end up not being driven for 5, 6, 10 years, whatever it may be. So I picked it up at the start of the year up in Bathurst, out of a shed in Bathurst. So
probably the iconic place to buy an old race car.
The last time it was driven was at Bathurst. So,
yeah, okay.
I think that was 3 years ago. So bought the car up there from a guy that obviously lives up there. Brought it back to Melbourne, stripped it all off, and started the restoration process, which we're almost finishing.
And you said it wasn't this colour when you got it?
No, it was red. So originally all these cars are white.
Yeah.
And then obviously when Peter got the car brand new, they sprayed it yellow. This is the Enjo colours of Enjo cleaning products.
Yeah, okay.
So from yellow, for its racing life, then it went to red and remained red. It must have had a wrap or something on it as well, because I've pulled bits of the wrap off every now and again. So yeah, I got it back and pretty much immediately just sent it off to the workshop that, I've got a guy that has been working on these cars even in Carrera Cup back in 2003 when it started in Australia. He still does Carrera Cup cars today. Just one guy does them by himself. So he did the work on this car, stripped it all off, painted it yellow, the Enjo yellow it is. And we're just waiting on some windscreen front and rear to be fitted. As long as this COVID lockdown finishes.
Yeah. Well, fingers crossed for Sunday.
Yeah. So once the lockdown finishes, we can get the guys out here to do the windscreen. The windscreens are quite specific. They've got a heated element running through them, which there's the wiring there for them. Yeah, okay. So yeah, basically a full respray and preparation for the livery is happening now. We've got the signage guys preparing everything. Yeah. And just we can hit the ground. Right?
So this will go back to the original race livery.
Yeah,
of how it was when it was originally on track.
Yeah, that's right. So it'll go back to looking exactly how it was in 2003, 2004. we're just doing some work with some old photos we have and what we can find. There's obviously quite a few photos that Porsche have.
Yeah.
Porsche did send me some photos, so that was a good help.
Yeah, that's nice.
So yeah, we're just, you know,
because I think it's important to keep the history of the cars.
Yeah, absolutely. I
you know, and nice that Porsche make the effort to say, hey, if you've got one of these cars, we'll send the pictures through.
Yeah.
You know.
Look, even one of my previous cars was the Jonathan Webb car. Porsche used that as a display car at the Formula One Grand Prix for their 70th anniversary, which is that sign behind you. So they made up that little banner there, and the car was on display. So I sold that car a little while ago, and obviously now I've got this one. Race cars are never perfect.
Yep.
You know, simple as that. But it looks pretty good to me. You know.
I'll tell you what, it looks brilliant. We'll take a bit of a closer look around. So we are going to try and start it, but there is the... Do you want me to hold the steering wheel while you get in?
Oh, that's okay. You can pass that to me.
Yeah. Because I don't think it's the easiest car to get in. It's got carbon fibre doors.
I don't actually need this.
There you go.
So you can keep that.
I tell you what, it's a good job you are a lot smaller than me, because I would have struggled getting in there.
Yeah.
Here we go. Bit of a cold start on the Cup Car. Sound like your standard GT3. So here we go, the engine inside the Cup Car.
Yeah, so it's just a standard 3.6 Metzger Porsche engine, obviously a Cup Car engine. They don't differ a great amount to like the GT3 RS of the same era. Just a few internal components might be a bit different, but yeah, higher compression, things like that. But a very good solid Cup Car engine. These things go forever. Despite what some people say, they honestly just go forever.
Yeah, because I guess there could be the perception that, like with a race car engine, that you'll get so many kilometres out of it, and then all of a sudden it's like time for rebuild, time for or even just to throw it away and start again. Yeah,
that's right. So I mean, in Carrera Cup, I mean, you'd run the engine maybe a season to 2 seasons. You'd probably do a top end rebuild every season.
Which, how many races is that?
Oh, they're plenty. They're
even over a weekend you're doing
it's bugger all. It's really not much. Everything's timed, so everything works on hours.
Yeah.
So I think, you know, don't quote me on this, but I think it was like Porsche recommended rebuild every 40 hours. I think it was. But you'll do a leak down and a compression test, and the thing would still be virtually new. It just comes down to maintenance, you know, making sure you're changing your oil every weekend, basically.
Yeah.
But in the guys' hands now that do club racing, if you're going to use 5-6 hours a year, 10 hours a year, 20 hours a year, it's going to take a long time before you get to, you know, the 200 hours that some of these engines do run for.
Yeah.
There's always a risk that it may explode if you don't maintain it, and if it's got more than 200 hours, but there's plenty examples out there that they just run forever. And
I guess because it is built on that air-cooled block.
Yeah, the 964 block.
You can probably, as long as you're, like you said, you keep in check of the oil, keep in check of coolant and fluids and things like that. Like the basics will make a lot of difference to how long that engine will last as well.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, maintenance is everything on any Porsche, let alone a race car.
Yeah.
So if you look after it, it will look after you. But you know, there is component fatigue, all that sort of stuff you've got to worry about. That's why Porsche always time their components.
Yeah. Okay.
The good thing about this engine is it's still sealed from Carrera Cup. So it's still the original engine, matching numbers, engine, gearbox, everything.
To the original car?
To the car, yeah.
Which has to be phenomenally rare on a cup car, I would have thought.
Yeah, I mean, look,
especially one that's had perhaps the history like this one has had.
I mean,
because he's had a fair few drivers in its time.
Yeah, it's certainly had a long history and certainly done a lot of races. But even in GT3 Cup Challenge, maybe where this car ended up, even that, when they did an engine rebuild, they still get sealed by Carrera Cup Australia.
Yeah.
So the engine seals are still on the car, on the engine.
Yeah, wow. It sounded beautiful when you started it. Yeah, I wouldn't have thought matching numbers and, you know, all that kind of what you'd expect from probably what you still search for with a road car, don't you? Like, you know, never mind with a cup car that has clearly lived a hell of a life and done a fair bit as well.
Yeah. So, I mean, some of the cars would have had a lot of engine changes. And some just constantly get rebuilt. I think this has had 2 rebuilds, but still a sealed engine. And
do you know how many hours this has had, or do you have to trace that through the logbook, or how would you?
I've got the equipment and the computer equipment to download all those hours.
Ah, okay.
Because it's a very specific Bosch ECU.
Okay.
It will only tell you the life hours the car has done from day one. So we don't know how many hours this particular engine's done, but your best way to check that is to, you know, your compression and your leak down test, and that gives you your health of the engine. Yeah. I suppose if I ask the people that rebuilt it, they might tell me when they rebuilt it.
So you said the ECU is captured on the birth certificate of the car.
Yeah, basically the build sheet, and then the first owner's details from Carrera Cup are on that small label.
Yeah.
That label also has the chassis number, or part of the chassis number, and part of the ECU number. Obviously, it's a controlled series or one make series.
Yeah.
You can't be changing ECUs. The ECUs are locked anyway. You can't get into them with a computer unless you're Porsche. And yeah, it's a controlled series, so that's the way they control everything.
Yeah, again, probably something that, you know, when you're watching the race series, you kind of have in the back of your mind, but it's nice to kind of understand that.
Yeah, in Carrera Cup, everything is logged. So, you know, gearboxes are sealed, engines are sealed. Even to this day, it's all done that way. And in most one make racing series, it's done that way. So it's quite fortunate. This car, while it's had a long racing life, it hasn't been messed around with. It hasn't been cut up. It hasn't had things added to the dashboard.
No, it's very original.
Yeah, it's a very original car, and that's the kind of thing I search for when I buy these things.
Yeah, it is. Like you said, with the ECU, it's got the original owner's name on there. You know, somebody's written their name above it to say, well, now it's mine. But it is phenomenally original. For again, what you'd think it kind of passed through a few hands, and they might have changed it or cut it up. But
I mean, you know, what is it now? 17 years old, and it's probably had 5 owners. But still, with all those owners, you can still trace back the history, because they're all Australian people, and they've raced it around Australia, and it's lived most of its life on the East Coast.
Yeah,
whether it's Melbourne or Sydney or something like that. The records pop up from the workshops that it's been through and things like that. So it's it's good.
So here we go. This is one of the posters from the 2003 season, and that is the car that we're talking about today, and it'll get that livery back on it as well.
Yep.
That's so cool. Yeah, brilliant.
Yeah, it's good to bring them back, and you know, a lot more of these cars are coming back. There's a couple of guys I know, and some of my mates, they have 996s or 997s, and they're all slowly going back to the original colours that they had back then. I mean, at the end of the day, there was only 25 of these brought to Australia, so there's not that many left.
Yeah, it's the vintage and the heritage, and like you just said earlier, only original once.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. So, and the original cars that were in the series, there's literally just 25 of them, and there's probably not that many left.
We're just going to take some photos, but we put the rear wheels on just to have a look, and look at those things. I think we'll come round to the rear to try and pick up. Look how fat they are. Can we see that? See if we can get a little bit closer. I'm going to brighten that up in edit and see if we can pick that up, but they look stunning. So just taking a look at the tyres and the rims. They're going to get polished up.
Yeah, so we'll end up polishing and stripping all the black off.
Yeah.
It'll go back to chrome as they were, factory brand new. All the parts and all the remaining bits to go on the car is just in that box, and that's it.
Yeah.
There's nothing more.
Well, that's nothing then, is it?
Yeah, that, one window and the dashboard.
Yeah, the window parts there.
Yeah, well, they're the old ones.
And then these wheels have got the unfinished centres.
Yeah, well, that's the factory standard centre, but the car had a yellow centre, just like the one here.
Just like these ones.
Yeah, so that's, again, came back from the paint shop, so they're ready to be put back together.
If you're going to go yellow, you may as well go full yellow.
Yeah, no, it's a brilliant colour. I mean, I quite like it, and I mean, the car actually looks quite nice with yellow and black bits on it, but the Enjo sponsorship that was all across the car was yellow and black.
No, that's brilliant. So that's a massive change from then those.
Yeah, that's how the car came with these. Someone had painted all that, but we'll strip all that off, and then put the yellow centres back in, and put all the new tyres on, which are sitting there.
Sitting there.
Yeah. So.
And just one more look at these. They're lovely.
Good job.
Yeah, brilliant. So there we go, that's our second time here. Before we were here with the Turbo 924 in the green. So our second time here to see these beautiful cars. Thank you very much. Great afternoon. And we'll catch you all again with a new video. Thank you very much. We'll see you later, guys. Please subscribe. See you in a bit.